With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves with Gary K.
Hey everyone, this is Gary K, and this is another pre-InfoComm edition of my Rants and Raves video cast. We're less than a week away, about a week away, I should say, from InfoComm, and I'm excited to have the future of the AV industry in XYTE and a workhorse brand in Intel. I mean, they're everywhere. They're all over the show floor. If not in a booth, they're everywhere else. So I want to first introduce Omar Brookstein, who is the founder and CEO of XYTE, XYTE. Omar, tell us what that is. Like, most people probably don't even know what your company does.
Actually, it's funny, Gary. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. It's great being here again. We've seen that change over the last InfoComms and ISCs as people move from never hearing about a company called XYTE, and then it's kind of interesting what you guys do to all the way, hey, we've heard about you. And I think that InfoComm is going to be especially exciting for us because, we'll talk about it in a second. Obviously, Intel is the prime event for us at the show, but you'll see more and more audio, video, display manufacturing announcing their cloud-based services based on XYTE during InfoComm. Some of them are going to do it publicly. Some others are going to do it privately for their system integrators and key end users. But we're very excited for the show.
Yeah, and this is the path. You've basically paved the path, the road for hardware as a service, AV as a service, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of that's going to rely on Intel NUCs. And Brian McCarson is with us, the Vice President of Client Computing Group, which is the group that runs the Intel NUC group, which is Next Unit Compute, if I remember correctly, Brian.
You got it exactly right.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a memory still here, but obviously, I think most people know what a NUC is because you're in probably more UCC spaces than any other compute device on the planet. But basically, it's a little small computer that's an all-in-one, but that comes in all different form factors, right?
Yeah. So what a NUC is the team aspires to have a no compromises computing experience, but make it more sustainable, make it smaller, more compact, and ridiculously reliable and ridiculously fast. So where the less is more is our mantra. Less space, less heat, less noise, less waste, and less impact to the environment, but never less on performance, never less on I/O, and never less on end user and customer value. So how do we maximize the computing experience at a very affordable cost, but still have ultra reliable products that people can get and really enjoy?
Well, I mean, you've had a big impact on the market, and interestingly enough, I think that our industry is moving towards as a service, and I think you would have probably been a great keynote speaker for the show to kind of explain the future of our industry. In fact, at InfoComm, Brian, y'all are going to actually launch a credit card sized compute device. If I'm allowed to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we're excited about that. We have the NUC Elements line of products. It's basically the way we're used to being able to socket in memory on a board. You can socket in compute, and we've been able to get pretty much the equivalent of a laptop without a keyboard and monitor and a credit card sized little disk. And so rather than having to throw out an entire system, when you want to download a new app or you figured out, hey, there's a new artificial intelligence use case I want to be able to adapt to, you can just simply socket in a more performant compute module. And so it reduces the overall expenditure of managing your assets and adds a lot of flexibility and end user choice that we think that some of our partners find really useful, in addition to the just like unbelievably small form factor. One of my little tricks at trade shows when I'm handing out business cards is I pull my business cards out of my jacket and then accidentally hand them a NUC Element card, which is the same size as my business cards. And like, what's this? Oh, that's a computer.
Perfect.
kind of fun to see people's faces light up when they realize how far we've pushed the envelope there.
I mean, I think if you've been in the industry long enough for digital signage, you see, easy how this could really change that industry. But Omar, how could it change what you're trying to do? I mean, you're kind of, I think if you ask most people about AV as a service, they're going to think lease, right? They're going to think the service side of servicing systems and remote maintenance and management, that kind of stuff. They're not thinking about what you're thinking about. What you're thinking about is, look, all of this stuff could be as a service, and we can put most of it, if not all of it, eventually in the cloud. Obviously, some stuff has to be in the room. You got to have speakers in the room. You got to have a microphone in the room. You got to have a display device in the room. But pretty much anything else, your vision could be in the cloud.
Yeah, I think, Gary, there are a few ways to look at that. I always tell to my customers and prospects, by the way, way beyond the audio video. The audio video industry is very warm to heart, my history. We have a bunch of customers, but we work with some automotive and other devices. But I always tell them that, for leasing, you don't need a technology layer. Leasing is just about finance and money, right? But when you buy Office 365, or you subscribe to Office 365, as an example, you're not buying an Exchange server for 24 monthly payments. You're actually buying a mail service rather than a mail server. And I think that's very much the case with meeting spaces. The speakers will be there, right? You talked about the Nook. The Nook is the #1 AV device. It's everywhere, and from UC to wireless presentation to digital signage and so on. That will be there. But those devices now become an enabler of a much more advanced cloud-based service. And the entire business model change. And when Brian and I will meet in a couple of weeks or so in Florida, we'll be talking how that helps the OEMs and their channel partners to maintain a very sustainable and good relationship with their customers, collect the insights and data, which are key to being able to support that service, not just a financial model, which is what leasing is.
Yeah, and I've noticed, sorry, Brian, I noticed recently, Omar, that you've also done a lot of partnerships. You said some are going to be public, some are going to be private, some behind the scenes, some are obvious. And, I can name a bunch, but I mean, Avacor, I just saw recently just sent out a release about the partnership you have, and there's other brands out there. What does that partnership entail? What are they doing? What are they putting on their device that makes it XYTE ready or whatever?
So I think one of the exciting things is that this is super simple, right? We equip them with the best in cloud platform. I always say that using XYTE, the OEM, device manufacturers, they don't need to know how to spell AWS. Not a single line of code in the cloud. We equip them with all the tools for everything soup to nuts. The only thing they need to do is to connect their devices using a very simple to use API. So we see OEMs connect their devices, their entire fleet of devices, to the cloud. Avacor is a good example. I know you spoke to Zach from Wirestorm and a bunch of others. Yeah. You just write a very simple client to connect their hardware to XYTE, and then they can unlock so many opportunities from monitoring, remote support, all the way to servitization, completely servitization of their devices.
And Brian, kind of what fired up your team about this? I mean, where do you see the Nook playing a part of this?
Well, in the business that we manage with Nook, we have thousands of customers whose business relies upon simple, reliable compute, and they're not interested in what individual configuration we might have or our design choices. Our customers are interested in delivering their differentiated value to their customers. And if you're the CEO of a small business, if you're managing a large enterprise, you're trying to improve your bottom line, make it easier for your employees to accomplish their tasks, and improve the experiences and outcomes of your customers. And you're not necessarily wanting to spend a whole bunch of time picking and choosing the individual hardware choices of what you're doing, or having to do large CapEx type purchases and then having separate contracts for people to actually service it. What you want to be able to do is have your employees focus and concentrate on what your business objectives are. And to me, what I love about Omar and team with XYTE is they're just making it almost a hands-off, easy experience where you're just concentrating on, we'll deliver to you what you need in the way that suits your business best, and take out all the headache around it. so you can concentrate on what you want to do, which is grow your top line and your bottom line for your business and not be held up by all the details here. And I personally believe the world is moving towards this direction.
Yeah.
All of us are doing the same thing in our own personal lives.
Yeah.
How many of those of you watching the call, ask yourself when you went in to go upgrade your phone, did you say, yeah, I want to write a check. I want the entire phone myself. And then I'm going to go find my own service provider for that. And I'm going to go write a subscription for them. And I want to know how many metal layers you have on your printed circuit board. I want to understand exactly how you configured your I/O. Nobody wants that. They want a great experience, and they want a really reliable way to communicate and connect with others. And when we've made those choices in our personal lives, the enterprise market hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had the tools to do it.
Haven't had the tools to do it. So I think humans have already made their decision. We're just waiting for companies like XYTE to make it a reality. And that's why I just love this team.
Well, XYTE's going to be in booth 4167. You'll get a chance to see how their integration with Intel is why they partnered and why they're working on this together. But you can actually walk around the show floor and see Intel all over the place. Pretty much every place that there's a UCC demonstration. If you can't see the NUC, it's somewhere inside the product, hidden back there. But if you want to learn more about XYTE, go to XYTE.io. They're in booth 4167 at InfoComm. And I agree with you. I think this is an interesting direction, and I think has a lot of potential. And another analogy I would say is, like, if you think about 20 years ago and you're setting up a home theater or home audio or whole house audio distribution system, think about how much gear you have back then compared to what you have now. It's all in the cloud. Like, we aren't really thinking about DVD players and physical, media. We are streaming it from an Apple TV or from a Roku, and we don't really think about how it got there. And by the way, there's a 10-second delay, but we don't care about that because we didn't know the source was 10 seconds earlier. It's like, it's not a thing anymore. So the same thing's going to happen in the meeting room, in the classroom. It's just a matter of time. And XYTE, I think, is paving a path. So check them out at XYTE.io and of course, Intel. That's easy to find, Intel.com. And the NUC group is spelled NUC, by the way. Okay. So is it Intel.com/NUC?
It is Intel.com/NUC.
I figured it might be. But thanks, Brian. Thanks for joining us. And Omar, thanks for joining us as well. We'll see you both at InfoComm 2023. And of course, all of our InfoComm coverage is at ravepubs.com/InfoComm.
With Ransom.